we have to do chapter 3 and verse 14 onwards, correct? Okay, so we had done last week about what is called as the sacrifice. So we are going to do some more about it and then continue. So we are doing the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 14 onwards. All beings are evolved from food. Production of food is dependent on rain. Rain ensues from sacrifice, and sacrifice is rooted in prescribed actions. Know that prescribed action has its origin in the Vedas, and the Vedas proceed from the indestructible God. Hence, the all-pervading infinite is always present in sacrifice. And this is taking you from one place to the other, to the other, to the other. Finally, the answer is everything comes from God alone. The idea is that. So if we have to trace this entire pathway back to whatever that is happening in our world, there are lots of things which happen in our world. So when these things are happening, we normally associate all these things to ourselves rather than to God or something outside of us. We always think that मेरी वजह से हो रहा है या उसकी वजह से हो रहा है. So we always keep on blaming everybody. The blame is always that, see, I did like this, it's my mistake. But it is normally other person's mistake, never our mistake. If it is a credit, it is always ours. And if it is something negative, the negative is always somebody else's problem, not ours. So here, the idea called sacrifice. What is this sacrifice? We understood last week that sacrifice is everything that is happening in this world. Even when the trees are growing, what is happening in that? The water is going inside the earth. They are sucking the water from the ground level, nitrogen and various other substances which are there. They are sucking it up from there. Then the carbon dioxide from the air. So think about it. Everything is being pulled inwards. A kind of a food is created inside. And even in trees, same thing is happening. In animals, it's the same thing happening. In fishes, birds, you name it, everything. The same issues are happening everywhere. So we consider it as a sacrifice. In the sense, something is being offered. When something is being offered, everything is working under the aegis of what is called as a framework. Those who are in the computer industry will definitely understand what a framework is. I don't have to tell you all what a framework is. Everything works under the framework. And then we have various derivations from that. The work happens. We get some results. The results is, like I said to you last time, what comes out of the sacrifice are the results. Some people, they have gone to, let us say, to the temple and they have performed the sacrifice. For what? For wanting a certain thing in their world. Maybe peace at home. So, the answer could be peace. This entire framework that is there in the background creates this whole thing forward. Now, who is the one who is creating this framework? There has to be a father of the framework, isn't it? Somebody has written the framework. So somebody who has written the framework is what we call as the divinity, God, whatever you wish to call it as. So this is where he says the infinite, it's always there. Let us read the verse again. All beings are evolved from food. So he's taken one example. Everything in this world is happening because of food. Food means water also included. So when we ingest food, this body is called the food body. The gross body, the one which you see, touch, feel, is called the gross body or the food body. Annamay Kosh, right? Anna, food. So this is called the food body. And food, every person, everything in this world, even if it is an ant also, it has to ingest some food, isn't it? It's when it ingests food that it can continue living in this world. Air is a secondary issue. Here we are just talking the body which we are concerned with is the food body. Food is dependent on the rain. So we are going backwards just to draw the entire channel backwards, in the sense, food, where does it come from? Food is the end result, let us say. Let us say food is the end result. Where is food coming from? The food is coming from the rainwater, which is, in the fields. You will find that we have sown the grain and the rain falls on it. So you are getting that. Now all this you apply to that yagya which we were doing last time. You remember I said put some steaks and then you can put some ghee. Finally we said no, ghee bhi dalna padta hai. So what are all these things? These are ingredients which go inside that thing. So see, food is dependent on the rain. Rain comes from sacrifice. Sacrifice of what? In this material world, rain will come from where? Some yagya is performed. Means what? Some fire is burning somewhere. Think about it. The sun is heating up the water which evaporates from that. Can you apply this whole process? So again, you will find that there is some kind of a process happening. Sacrifice is rooted in prescribed action. Certain actions have to be performed. Let us see them one by one. Now here, what are the actions performed? Fire is burning in the sacrificial pit. We are burning the fire by putting in all the ingredients. In the material world outside, the sun is burning. It is giving off the vapors of water. It becomes a cloud, condenses into a cloud. In our life, come back to us, what are we doing? We are ingesting food. The food which we ingest, what happens in the stomach? Burning happens, isn't it? Burning down, breakdown of all the ingredients. That is proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, fats, this, that, everything is broken down by different juices that are coming in, and there is a churning happening, right? Same way, you will find that even in our ears or nose or eyes, everything is happening in a similar fashion. The image is hitting our eye, okay? When the image, it's light is hitting our eye. What happens to the cells inside? They are bringing it to a point, isn't it? There is a lens inside. That lens makes it into a smaller image, reversed. Then what happens? It is falling on certain things over there. There are cells behind it which are sending the impulses, right? And the whole picture can then be visible to us. Finally, we get to see what is there outside of our eye. I can have a camera, but no film inside, or no, memory stick. What will happen even if I click? Nothing is going to happen, right? There is no image stored anywhere. So in our eye, if we don't have that retina and everything behind us, including all the nerves and the cells inside, do you think we will be able to do anything? No. So there is a kind of a sacrifice happening right there. So imagine everything is like this in a framework. I gave you 3-4 examples for you to understand. Even in the material world, when we perform some work, maybe you are working in the kitchen, what happens over there? You are creating some kind of a dish. Now when you are creating that dish, are you not using the ingredients that are required and giving it heat? You can be even microwaving it, it does not matter. It is still called giving it heat. Okay. Not necessarily on a gas stove or something, but you have to heat it. And then it converts itself into some kind of a substance which we ingest, isn't it? The whole process is like that. So he is giving that action. Know that prescribed action has its origin in the Vedas. Now, Vedas is called a framework, like I said. Everything that is needed to be done in this world or is happening in this world is working in that framework only. The bird can fly, right? Now, suppose the bird does not have a wing. You have seen some, pigeons whose wings are cut from, you have seen that, no? At home, some people keep pigeons which don't fly. Or there is a bird. If you go to Mauritius, the national bird of Mauritius is called a dodo. It's a flightless bird. It cannot fly. It's extinct, by the way. It's no longer there. So, there is a bird which doesn't fly. So, that framework will be different. So, there are certain birds which fly very high up, certain which will fly at a low level, some which will just hop along, some which will not fly at all. Some birds will be able to dive inside the water and hold their breath. There are fishes of various kinds. We sometimes call them mammals also. And there are some creatures which stay inside the water. Some creatures which stay inside the water and the land, amphibians. Some creatures which stay on the land and able to go inside the water whenever they need, they can hold their breath. Basically, if you look at a whale is a creature which is not a fish at all. It can hold its breath for a very long time. That is why you see that spout, no? The thing which comes out. So, this is a framework in which everything has been created. Now, these are applications which you will not correlate to, but at least you will understand. So, in your own life, there are lots of things happening. They follow a framework. Have you seen that? The framework is very clear. A child is born after some time. There is a process involved. The child has to grow. For growth, there is a process involved. See, the whole process is laid out. One after the other, after the other, after the other. I cannot reverse the process out. I cannot give him a college education first and then the school education. Can I do that? No, there is a framework and the child also has to follow the framework. In the same way, when you grow, your body also grows. You see, boys get beard and mustache and all that. How do they get it? At a particular age. There is a framework. It's all embedded inside the system. So, Vedas are nothing but the framework for operations in this world. They proceed from the indestructible God. This Vedas is a framework written by somebody. Now, need not be necessarily written means, you will think कि भाई कुछ किसी ने लिखा है. It is something which is understood. The Vedas have to be understood. It's a natural process of understanding. You cannot say, that there are certain things happening in this world which follow a particular path. Now, let us say there is a lady who says, I want to, I am married to this person, X person. But that person has not taken a divorce from the previous marriage. And yet this person gets married. Legally, is it valid? Law says this marriage is invalid. You can come and do whatever you want to. You can, go to the Supreme Court also. But the legality is not there. There is no legal standing of that person. Why? Because the man's divorce has to come through the letter, the document has to come from the court, and then you can proceed with the marriage. Then it is valid. So this is something which is a law. Even if you don't know it, it's a law that is there. Think like that. The Vedas are nothing but laws which are basically embedded in the system. We have to accept it and we have to go through it. You can sneeze, don't worry. रीता आवाज आएगा। नहीं नहीं, वायरस कुछ नहीं आएगा यहाँ पर। Okay. So, the Vedas are coming from the divine. Alright, this is what the whole process is involved. So, we move to the next verse. What is that? Today I need something to wipe. Thanks. Arjuna, we are doing the next verse, that is verse number 16. This is chapter 3, verse 16 from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, he who does not follow the wheel of creation, thus set in motion in this world, does not perform his duties, leads a sinful and a sensual life, he lives in vain. These are specific set of rules. Like I said, nobody is going to actually explain them to you. It is more or less understood. It's when we have our kids. If the kid is going in the wrong direction, if he is playing video games the whole day, what is the thing that you will say to that child? Don't play these video games, you got to study. Isn't that what we will say? It's an understood thing. There are people who do drugs or smoke cigarette or drink too much. What is it that we are supposed to say to them? Naturally, it is understood you don't do drugs. They are going to lead you in the wrong direction. Correct? And you may become an addict and tomorrow you will have a lot of issues. Now, there are so many restrictions in the world today because of this coronavirus thing. Yesterday also, something happened in the markets. The moment it crossed 2000, drop. Everything came to a standstill. Why? Because the market cannot keep on having what is called as a free fall. Right? Suppose the market keeps on crashing. Imagine tomorrow you get a petrol for 20 rupees a liter. You know what is going to happen though? Everybody wants to have a tank full because you are not even sure. It is happening to toilet paper also. Worldwide, the toilet papers have disappeared. Why? Coronavirus. So, all these are happening because of certain issues which we have not followed accordingly. Think about it. Nobody eats bats. Okay? But there are some people who are eating bats. Now they say that this virus has come because of bat or because of certain other creature. You don't do that. Unless and until you are a creature who is used to eating bats. There must be some bird or some creature, some animal which eats bats. We don't know about that. So are you that? Then please go ahead and do. So there is a framework in all this, remember. And the law may be written or not written. We have to follow it. The Constitution of India. How many people actually know the Constitution? We hardly know. Those who have studied law may know a little bit. The Constitution says this and that and that and that. But do people actually know? And yet we are supposed to know. The law says this, that even if you don't know, you are supposed to know. Tomorrow you can get away with murder also. No, say I didn't know I was killing this person, and doesn't really matter. You cannot say those words. You know there is certain crime that is happening. So what is he saying? He who does not follow the wheels of creation thus set in motion in this world does not perform his duties, leads a sinful and a sensual life, he lives in vain. So if you are cut out for a particular purpose, if there is a certain thing to be done, now you have got hands, you have got legs, and if you are not using the legs, you are not using your hands. In most of the places you have seen, that is not my job. No, that is not your job. The dirt may be right in front of your nose. But that is not my job cannot be said. You got to pick it up and throw it aside. Put it in the dustbin. Certain laws are valid. You will find that the children, they are very particular about certain things. You find somebody is throwing something out of the car, the child will be the first one. Dad, look at that fellow. He's throwing something out of the car. Have we not seen this happen in our world? The children are very particular about this. We say, chalta hai. Our attitude is chalta hai. But the child understands that is not to be done. Please throw it in the dustbin. So we are doing the segregation of the waste also nowadays. Plastic bottles separate, this separate, that separate. Why is it required? It is to be understood. It is only last week that New York City put a ban on plastic bags. We have done it, I think, over a year ago. Huh? So there are certain countries which are saying no plastic at all. Certain countries which are still continuing with the plastic. Now think about it. He is doing something. That particular country may be doing something. Is it against nature? 100% against nature. So if it is going to be against nature, you have to understand everything that you do in this world will be in vain. It is not good. It's not a good thing to do. Now let us come to our own bodies. We have certain things to do. Certain regimes to follow. Let us say you are keeping very late nights. Some people work till late, early in the morning. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they are just sitting, working. Their entire life is going to become upset. The night time has been given so that you can go to sleep. Once in a while, if you do the work, it is okay. But if you are going to be awake the whole time, every single day, and you're going to be working 7 days a week, 365 days in a year, very soon you're going to have either a mental or a physical breakdown somewhere. And then the amount of money that you might have earned the whole year, you're going to pay it in one single shot to the hospital and to the doctors. Why would somebody want to do something like that? You got to put your foot down and say, no, I don't want to do this work 24/7. And I need a healthy lifestyle. All this the man is doing for a good lifestyle, isn't it? So that he earns properly, he lives properly. But every day if the person is working till 5 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning, doesn't it speak something wrong? So this is what he says. If you do not follow these laws, which have been written, which have been set in motion in this world, you are not performing your duties properly. See, in my ashram over here, it is very important that you have your tea at a certain time, breakfast at a certain time, get up at a certain time, go to sleep at a certain time. Why is it so important? Because that is how the laws have been set. Remember, these are unwritten laws. And they have to be understood by the person. In olden times, used to say, early to bed, early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy and wise. It's a very simple saying. So, going to sleep in time, getting up in time is very important. We'll do the next verse. Verse 17 from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. He, however, who takes delight in the self alone and is gratified with the self and is contented with the self has no duty to perform. Who is this person? It's just a rider over here. This rider is very important. Self-realized beings. Those who have reached the status of the self. Saints, sages, those kind of people. Now, many a time you will find that if you are just sitting and doing nothing, somebody will come and he will say, "Na, kuch karte kyun nahi?" Many a times we have seen this. If you are just sitting over there doing nothing, just looking, somewhere in the air, somebody is going to come and point it out to you. Why are you not doing anything? Or if you are doing something 24/7, naturally somebody is going to come and tell you, stop it. You have to do everything in moderation. Moderation is very, very important. Why is moderation important? It is important because you cannot disturb the rhythm of life. The rains have to come in time. If they are late by 6 months, what will happen? Today, because of coronavirus, now if there may be important examinations and these examinations get pushed forward 3 months ahead, you know what is going to happen? All the competitive examinations that are 10th standard, 12th standard, all those exams or graduation level or post-graduation level. Just imagine if these just a few examinations get pushed forward by 3 to 4 months, what happens over there? The admissions are upset. When I was in my SSC, at that time, this strange phenomena happened. Mine was 11th standard was SSC. The next who came in, for them 10th standard was SSC. Now there were 500 seats for medical. Both the people are graduating at the same time from school. Both the people are entering the college simultaneously. The competitive examination, which was supposed to be held with just 100,000, 1 lakh people, were then 2.5 lakh people and 500 seats. How do you distribute them? And in that there is reservation also. SC, ST, OBC, this, that, so many things. So general category in 500 is left how much? 250. Now 250 divided by say 2.5 lakhs. Do you understand this problem? So everybody was dissatisfied because there was this kind of an upset in the system. So that this doesn't happen, we have been given a set of laws which we are supposed to follow. Now there is this thing connected to realized beings. Realized beings are those who have gone beyond the bodies. Beyond the bodies. Now they cannot be told you have to sleep in time. Because we will come across a verse where they are said, the whole world is asleep and they are awake. And when they are asleep, the whole world is awake. There is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita which says so. What does it actually mean? The Sai Babas of this world or Ramakrishna Paramahansas of this world may not be educated in the material worldly sense. They have not done post-graduation. They have not done graduation or even for that matter an SSC. But yet they are the highest knowledge concerned, isn't it? So do you understand this? Those laws which are valid for the material world are not valid for them. Now you may be a PhD. You may be a PhD in philosophy or all kinds of things. theology for that matter. Can you match yourself with all these great people? No. Your degree is worthless, as good as toilet paper, which is disappeared now. So something like that. It really doesn't matter. Your degree is worthless as far as they are concerned. Can you apply all the physical worldly laws to them? Can you say that, tomorrow I will see to it that no, I will pass, or you tell your son, maybe you will come first in your examination. You think that is going to happen? Try as you might. Whatever words that you may say may not even come true. But let us say an enlightened person who is there looks at a completely duffer child who is not even studying and says, you will come first. Have you seen that child comes first? How does it work? So the physical and the material worldly laws are not valid for these enlightened people. One day, a person asked me a question. He said, Guruji, I have heard that this particular, saint, supposed to be saint, he was having a gala time with an actress. So I looked at the person and I said, see, understand one thing. If he is an enlightened person, he may have a gala time with 100 other actresses or whosoever that he requires. What difference does it make to him? Did you understand this? If a human being gets married to 3 women or one woman gets married to 5 men, is it valid today's day and age? It is not allowed by the law also. But an enlightened person, he has got 100 wives. What does it matter? Now this is a law which may not be valid for him. So there is a sage. Sai Baba, Sai Baba had a disciple called Upasani Maharaj. Have you heard of him? Now Upasani Maharaj, he went away from Baba, established an ashram in another place, and he got married to more than 24 women. The whole world looked at him as, what is he doing? But this man was an enlightened person. And when somebody asked him, why did you do this? These were downtrodden women who had come from villages. And they were completely, rejected by the village. So that they can be given a certain standard in this world, and they all became his devotees. So Upasani Maharaj's story is like that. Can you point fingers at him? I'm sorry, I don't think I would want to even think about that issue. So I told this person that why does it matter whether that person is having some heroine or somebody like that? Do you really care? Do we really have to bother about it? It is because of this verse. See, I am not saying this person is self-enlightened. I am just saying that if it is so, it really does not matter. He, however, who takes delight in the self alone and is gratified with the self, who is lost in the self, 24/7, the person is lost in the self, he is not the body. And is contented with the self, has no duty to perform. He doesn't even have to lift his finger to do anything. He can just be sitting in one place and not doing anything. Now this brings us to a point where you will find that if you see a beggar on the road, what do you say to the beggar? Hatta katta admi hai. Quite well built. and you say he's begging, why should he beg? Can you not do some work? You know, maybe lift some boja or clean cars or something. Isn't that the first thought that comes to the mind? काम क्यों नहीं कर सकता? Why can he not do some work? This we can expect from a material worldly person. But a person who is a sage, an enlightened person, let us say he comes begging for food and he looks like a bhikari. Can you say these words to him? जाओ जाके कुछ काम करो. Can you say these words? कुछ कमाते क्यों नहीं? Can you say these words? An enlightened person need not work also. He can just be lost in the self. Full day, day and night, 24/7, 365 days in a year. It really does not matter. The scriptures say this because he is not the body. He is beyond the body. Body is just a covering for him. And because body is just a covering for him, it really doesn't matter. Got it? So verse 18. We are still continuing about the same person called the self-enlightened person. Chapter 3, verse 18 from the Bhagavad Gita. In this world, that great soul has nothing to gain by action, not by abstaining from action, nor has he any selfish dependence of any kind on any creature. He doesn't have dependency on any person. Now let us say there is an enlightened person. Now he is coming and staying in your house. Think. He is coming and staying in your house. First and foremost, he is not even supposed to do anything. Correct? That is what is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the Bhagavad Gita, by the way. This is not some ordinary text, no? These are Krishna's words. He is not supposed to be doing. You know, we say, na, एक दिन आया उसको बोलते हैं पावना. त्याची अक्कल सांगली. You know, that wordings are there. For him, that does not apply. We cannot expect him to work. We cannot expect him to make money. We cannot expect him to go and earn something. If you are giving him something, जैसे उसको रहने को दिया, खाने को दिया, कपड़े दिए, you are doing yourself a favor. In the Sai Satcharitra it is mentioned that people who came to Shirdi gave Baba some money. They thought they are doing something great. But actually Baba was taking money from them. 20 rupiya la, 25 rupiya, like that. He is removing their karma. So those who offer to these saints, their karma gets reduced. Now in Calcutta, those who have been to Calcutta, if you have been to Dakshineshwar, Dakshineshwar is a very beautiful temple complex. Ramakrishna Paramahansa lived there for many, many years. Rani Rashmani was the name of the person, and her son-in-law called Mathur Babu. They were very, very rich people. They had given him a room. Corner room was there. He was staying there for many years, till I think the last 3 months before he died. They were taking care of his expenses. Now Mathur Babu died. All the expenses of Ramakrishna Paramahansa and those who were staying with him, they were taken care by Mathur Babu and his mother-in-law, Rani Rashmani. After their death, there was a person called Suresh Ghosh. He was called by another name Surendra. Now Surendra used to provide for Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Every month he would give something to him, and Ramakrishna ji would be managing. He himself never took the money. The money was, distributed in such a way that everything got taken care of. The funny part about Surendra's life is this. Surendra was a rich man. He would come from Calcutta in his own carriage. Now, to have an own carriage means it's like owning a BMW or a Mercedes Benz in those days, no? So he would come, he would get off from the carriage, and there were disciples sitting in front of Ramakrishna ji. Khatla, khatiya bolte hai, khatiya, like that. And there was one divan. Divan, you understand? Smaller one and a big 4-poster bed. So the divan was always below the bed. So they would remove the divan out. Ramakrishna ji would sit on that divan and would give satsang to everybody. This man, he would come drunk. He would go from behind and he would go behind the 4-poster bed and he would go to sleep over there. He never listened to the satsangs. So one day, the people, they were saying, एक तो दारू पीता है, दूसरा आके सो जाता है, सत्संग में सोता क्यों है? So Ramakrishna ji got very angry with that person. He said, how can you talk like this? So, why? What happened, sir? You don't understand. He doesn't have to listen. I have taken charge of him. I have taken charge of him. He is free. So whether you like it or not, that person will get straight away towards the ultimate destination, which is called moksha. So such a kind of a person was Surendra. Why would he want to do anything? Same way there was another person called Girish Ghosh. Girish Ghosh was a very great man. If you go to Calcutta, there is a theatre which is in his name. And he was a yash kind of a person. Drinks, women, wine, everything was going on in this world. But he was the greatest devotee of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So he would come and he would argue with anybody who said anything against Ramakrishna ji. One of the greatest persons in his life whom he was against and whom he would argue to the final battle was Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was an Advaitist. He did not believe in all this. Later on he became an agnostic. He was with the Brahmo Samaj. So Girish Ghosh would say, he is God. Ramakrishna Paramahansa is God. And Vivekananda would say, no, there can be no God. The arguments would go on and on. And even after such a great fight that would happen, right in front of everybody they will fight. Arguments. And Ramakrishna ji would just, Acha, you two start. He would deliberately start that fight between the two of them. And he'll say, you can argue. So it used to be like that. That person was an enlightened person. He doesn't have to bother himself. Vivekananda was already an enlightened person. You see, Vivekananda, when he was sitting in front of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he had all the questions, all the odd questions in the world. He was eating pork also and he was smoking so many cigarettes and stuff like that. He would do all kinds of things. And then you would say, how is he allowed to do all these things? You see, first and foremost, you cannot eat non-veg. है ना? और विवेकानंदा non-veg खाता है, सब कुछ करता है. Everything is doing. And Girish Ghosh, oh, he was a great man. Daru, ladki, सब चलता है. And he was that Natak company, He had Natak company. So, how is he going to get enlightened? But they are already enlightened people who whatever you can say to them, that doesn't affect them. There are two kinds of enlightened beings in this world. One, already enlightened. He is born enlightened. And the second one who gets enlightened in his life. The first one is called Nitya Siddha. Born enlightened. Born enlightened, Ramakrishna Paramahansa himself will come in that category. Vivekananda will come in that category. Sai Babas of this world will come in this category. Then the next category, those who get enlightened later on in their life. Such kind of people, they follow a path. They go towards enlightenment. That means they are very rigorous in their sadhanas. They get enlightened later on. They are called Jivan Mukta. So two kind of people, Nitya Siddha and Jivan Mukta. So Jivan Mukta is those average human beings who can go towards enlightenment. If you get enlightened while you are living, and then you can do whatever you want to, which is not sanctioned by the law also, it does not apply to them. Did you get it? Jivan Mukt could be, Sivananda Swami or Chinmayananda. They became enlightened later on in their life. Got it? So we can do this kind of a distinction. But if Sivananda or Chinmayananda, if you are smoking a cigarette and all that, according to the law, you are not supposed to. But for them, it really doesn't matter. So we were on the story of Ramakrishna ji. Remember, his entire thing was taken care of by a Surendra. In case of Sai Baba, you will find that Bhutti Saab from Nagpur, he built that Wada, they call it. Sandorkar, and there were various other people who were taking care of him. His stay over there. So they will automatically get, because Baba will take their karma on his head. And they get out of it. This is basically how it works. So if this person who may come to stay in your house is an enlightened being, even that one day that he comes and the seva that is performed to him can lead a person out of this circle of life and death because of that little thing that they have done, which they don't actually understand. They say, his holy feet, the lotus feet have entered the house. ऐसे बोलते हैं ना कि नहीं बोलते हैं? So this is the reason why it happens. So why does this work? This is the answer. So the verse says, in this world, the great soul has nothing to gain by action nor by abstaining from action. Every human being in this world, average human being in this world, whatever action he does, converts itself into karma. You know that, I know that. We have already discussed this n number of times. We'll be discussing it more also. Because karma is a never-ending subject. So, for them, for these enlightened beings, they can perform any action or they need not perform any action. It can never lead them to any form of karma. So, your association with them, suppose tomorrow Kabir or Mirabai, just example, if they come and stay in your house, even that one day, any karma that you perform with them, it will not put you in karma. Why? Because that person is not even accepting it. See, he has nothing to gain nor lose. So any action performed with that individual nullifies your karma. So if you give that person food, or if you give that person money or anything, it is minusing your other karma that is there. Got it? He does not have selfish dependence on anybody. He is not doing that because he wants to make money from those people. He is doing because he is doing that person a favor, that person's entire family a favor, plus the people who come and meet him in that place, he is doing them a favor. So verse 19, therefore go on efficiently doing your duty at all times without attachment. Doing work without attachment, man attains the supreme. Everything that you do in this world, don't be attached to it. Just do it with detachment. And this is how it works. Whatever you do not bother कि ये करने से ये मिलेगा. If you are cooking a very nice dish, don't think इसका टेस्ट अच्छा होना चाहिए या वो खाने से वो मुझे थैंक यू बोलेगा. What are you talking about? Don't say that, if I do this for him or her, that person will feel mighty pleased. उसके पसंदीदा खाना बनाया मैंने. We say this, no? I also cook, so I am telling you all. So those who come to me now, I know what that person likes. So I will specially make that thing for that person. The person will eat it and say, oh, this is so nice. Why? I am not, there should be no expectation whatsoever. Do the job that is given to you without expectation of any sort. Just do it with detachment. When we raise our children, we should never think that they owe it to us. When we give it to our family members something, जैसे अगर घर कुछ पैसे वैसे भेजते हैं, तो don't think that they are doing some great favor to those people. If the parent is looking after the child or you are looking after them, both cases, you should never think that somebody is doing favor to somebody. We are all working in this world as per the grand plan. We are just a cog in the wheel, या फिर one spoke in the wheel. Have you seen the cycle tire? There are spokes, no? Just imagine you are one of the spokes. एक स्पोक निकाल देने से टायर कुछ होने वाला नहीं है टायर का. Got it? Think like that. You are just one of those things in this world which is operating for the smooth functioning. And never put this ego. If I don't do this, nobody will do. ये बोलते हैं ना हम लोग. अगर मैंने काम नहीं किया तो दूसरा कोई करने वाला नहीं है. That is your ego talking. Everybody is replaceable. There was a time when Sunil Gavaskar was a great cricketer, and the world thought, oh my God, he scores centuries after centuries. Then came Sachin Tendulkar, then Sehwag, and now there are more people. So you think they cannot be replaced? So there was a Don Bradman somewhere down the line. Now today there is somebody new. So everybody is replaceable. We should never think that I am irreplaceable. Like the dictators think, that they are the ultimate. One day they are brought to ruins, then somebody else takes over. So you have to do your job as if you are doing it for the ultimate time in your life. That means put all your heart and soul in the job. Whatever job that you do it with absolute perfection. Try to put as much heart and soul in it. Not with the idea, कल मैं मरने वाला हूँ या किसी के लिए मैं कुछ फेवर कर रहा हूँ. No. You have to do it because you are the perfect person in that place to do that job. So do it and get out of that place. Don't bother कि क्या होता है उसके बाद. We wait for the results. We keep on waiting. And then later on, if there is success written, then, because of me this has happened. Don't take the credit. That credit is your karma. Please understand this. Why do you want to get involved in the karma of all those 100 people involved with you? Do it, but don't take credit. See, even just now we were doing about saints. What did I say about the saints? They have nothing to gain. So when you say ना कि बाबा की वजह से मुझे ये मिला, if you go to Baba, he'll say ना I didn't do anything. Have you noticed it? He never acknowledges anything. The saints and the sages, the great people, the gurus and whoever they are, they will never acknowledge anything. Why? Because the moment you acknowledge, the moment you say, I did it, because of me this happened, they get into karmic loop. Whereas understand, this is a self-realized being, even if they say it doesn't matter, but yet they will not do it. So they don't take credit for anything. So never take credit. And this is a path of karma. The question which may arise in your mind is, in my material world, should I not do this? In the material world, everybody is facing these issues. Company may, if I don't show that I have done this job, I will not get my promotion. I will not get the money involved. This is a question for all the corporate people, isn't it? But if you are reading this book, please understand one thing. If you are listening to these words, Nishkam karma is the most important. Don't bother about it. Your credits are not being calculated just now in this life. They are being calculated by Chitragupta over there. And this is for your future lives. Because no karma is going to get attached to you. This life, the other person may get promotion, the other person may get money, you may not get anything. But remember this, that becomes a credit for you. And there is somebody else writing about it. But like I said, at the end of the day, it is your call. How you do it. So he says, do all kinds of job without any attachment to it. Because doing work without attachment means you can attain the supreme. You can attain the highest state of being if you are not attached to anything. No results to be attached to. No people to be attached to. You just are supposed to do the job concerned. That's it. Okay? So we will stop over here at verse 19.